right now, I'd just like to go ahead and ask you something which might be relatable to what we're talking about, might not be related to what we're talking about. We love adapting things. Like your examples of EVs, I can go ahead and give you examples of smartphones as well. We've adapted the smartphone we've adapted the complete network of digitization when it comes to smartphones here in Nepal. Right now, role models are very important. I believe in role models. Looking at, let's say, if the Prime Minister goes ahead and does something which is going to go ahead and positively impact the society, people, especially kids, probably are going to go ahead and look up to that. I mean, like, if the Prime Minister is doing it, then maybe I'm going to go ahead and do it, right? It might be something like just going ahead and picking up a piece of paper and throwing it in the garbage.
Yeah.
It might sound so minute, but it's impactful.
Yeah.
How has India, I'm just going to touch base on India, what are the things that India has gone ahead and done, especially when it comes to role models going ahead and acting on it in media's perspective? Just if you could touch base on this.
I'll start with actually using your example since you mentioned the Prime Minister. One of the marquee things that our Prime Minister did when he first took office was something known as the Swachh Bharat campaign.
Narendra Modi.
Correct. Okay. And it's very interesting you use the example of role model, and when I see people that I respect doing something which is not normal for me to see, right? And it's interesting that our Prime Minister, and you'll see some of this online when you search for it, actually has, quite recently, there's a day that he spends cleaning the roads, right? And this is put on to our media, and our media circulates that. And the reason is exactly the reason that you just mentioned. Now, there's the leader of the country who's creating that example, one type of role model in the political space. My argument is that it needs to go even beyond that. We need to find many types of role models, right? Politicians are one type of role models, the ones who lead countries. We need role models in the private sector. We need role models in media. The amount of space that you will give through the medium that you have to the important subjects of society will have you be a role model in the media context. So I think role models are also a matter of context. And I think that the ones that have the most amount of reach are, of course, politicians and the leaders of respective countries. But there are some very good ones there. So in India's case, I just gave you this example. But climate champions, for example, right? We have so many from people who are 9, 10 years old to people who are 70, 80 years old. I'll give you an example, maybe somewhat trivial, but I hold it very close to my own heart. My mother, many years ago when I was much younger, would take a napkin. So if you look at a typical napkin, right, it's quite big, right? I'm not talking about a typical tissue box, but if you a napkin in a paper napkin in a restaurant. But if you actually look at that napkin, you can probably tear it into 2 or 3 pieces and make 2 or 3 people use it. Now, many years ago, my mother used to do this on our personal, I mean, in public, she would never do it, but now I'm saying this publicly, but she would never do it in public. But at home, she was very conscious about this from a mental model of saving. She came from the idea of saving. It wasn't climate, it was saving. Right? But its impact was very much, 15 years later, I mean, she is one of my climate champion role models. Because even though she was doing it for a different reason, she understood the worth of saying, this is too much. I can probably do with a little lesser, right? And achieve the same result, right? Yeah. So, I mean, I'm giving you a role model of the leader of my country, and I'm giving you a role model of somebody in my own household, And we have these all around us. The simple example that you just took of saying, if I have somebody I respect and I see them just doing something so basic as not throwing their litter out of the window of their car, but retaining it. And for that, there might be something in the car in which you can put it. And then you go and get rid of it somewhere. I mean, what better role model could you have? So I think it's about promoting different types of role models. Yesterday, I had the pleasure of being at your ISL football game last evening.
NSL, yeah.
NSL, yeah. I was at the football game. One, the quality of the football was excellent, firstly. So congratulations to all of you for whoever are promoting that particular league. But as I thought about, sport makes some of the biggest role models on the planet.
True.
So how do you take sportsmen? How do you take people who are great mountaineers, right? I mean, the Sherpa community is known globally from Nepal, right? How do you take some of that community and make them become a part of the debate? And if you think about it, the regions that they impact and where they've made their name is one of the places that climate change is impacting the most. The receding of glaciers is going to affect that community. So I think role models are many. I think it's about being able to take those role models, bringing it closer to the context of simple people, of normal people, and then being able to talk about them. That media needs to give the space for a lot of these stories to get out. I'm not so sure that the headlines, for the most part, capture the issues of today outside of the conventional stuff that media typically goes after.
Thank you very much for watching us on YouTube. Make sure that you also listen to us on Spotify.